Statutes Amendment Act 2009. Adjourned debate. Honourable Mr. Blackett.
The Honourable Member for West Yellowhead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to participate in today's second reading of Bill 50, the Electric Statutes Amendment Act. Mr. Speaker, on October 14th, Premier Stelmach laid out our government's way forward. Our Premier laid out our government's way forward to position our province for a strong economy and a province-wide televised address. This four-point economic plan included a commitment to invest in Alberta's infrastructure. Along with roads, schools and hospitals, this includes investing in our electricity transmission system, infrastructure that is critical to all Albertans who use electricity to power their homes and businesses. Mr. Speaker, Bill 50 plays an important role in our way forward, and like with roads, schools and hospitals, Bill 50 gives government the responsibility to approve the need for such critical infrastructure. I'll speak today about how Bill 50 is crucial to Alberta's long-term success and prosperity, and I'll speak about how it doesn't take away the voices of Albertans in the decision-making process. Mr. Speaker, we're all aware of the tremendous debate surrounding Bill 50. Detractors say we don't need new infrastructure, that the cost of projects would fall heavily onto the shoulders of Albertans. The government will push through projects behind closed doors, and concerned Albertans will lose their say. I appreciate the opportunity to address these fears with the facts. Mr. Speaker, there has been much talk about the cost to Albertans if Bill 50 is passed. I would suggest that the cost to Albertans would ultimately be much higher if we do not pass this bill and if we don't act immediately. Rumours abound about the cost for the critical transmission infrastructure projects included in Bill 50. The price seems to increase daily depending on what you're reading or who you're talking to. The fact is, Bill 50 approves the need for 4 critical transmission infrastructure projects. The estimated cost for the 4 projects is $5.6 billion. But what does this mean to Albertans? It means the average residential customer will see an increase of less than $6 on their monthly bill, or less than $72 a year once all 4 projects are in service. We expect that to be around 2017. The cost will be addressed in increments starting around 2012 and increase over time as the projects are completed. Another fact, Mr. Speaker, the amount that Albertans pay for transmission has always been based on the amount of power they consume. Let me say again, Mr. Speaker, Albertans will pay a higher price in the long run if we maintain the status quo. Today there are generators who cannot connect to the system because there is not adequate transmission in place. If we don't correct this situation, we will lose some of our investors, creating a lack of competition followed by an increase in energy costs. There is very real threat of power outages, blackouts and brownouts, and the cost to society will be very high. As a government, we cannot accept this, and as a government, we will not accept this. And as a government, we know that public input is crucial to the democratic process. Mr. Speaker, the simple fact is that Bill 50 does not take away the public's right to be heard. Bill 50 speaks to needs only. The Alberta's Utility Commission will continue to be responsible for making decisions on the siting of transmission facilities. This includes determining the specific location for individual power lines. In doing so, the Alberta Utilities Commission will continue to ensure that Albertans whose rights may be directly and adversely affected by a proposed transmission development is informed of the application. These Albertans will continue to have the opportunity to voice their concerns in the review process. We strongly encourage affected Albertans to do so. Mr. Speaker, the claim that the planning of transmission projects is happening behind closed doors is unwarranted and untrue. In fact, the AESO, the Alberta Electric Systems Operator, carried out extensive public consultations on various proposals to develop or expand transmission system. The AESO developed their long-term transmission system plan after 92 open houses attended by more than 2,500 attendees, 48 meetings with small groups, 148 presentations to municipalities, and distribution of more than 1 million copies of Powering Alberta's magazine. Let's be very clear about the AESO, Mr. Speaker. The AESO does not own any generation facilities, it does not own any transmission lines, nor does it construct any transmission facilities. In short, the AESO has no vested interest in recommending that building certain infrastructure is critical. Following the approval of Bill 50, which approves the 4 critical transmission infrastructure projects, the AUC will conduct public hearings to determine the specific route for transmission line and locations for situations and substations. A number of things are considered at the facility hearing, including the specific location of proposed substations and the route of proposed transmission lines, impact on residents, the environment and agricultural operations, visual impacts, technical issues and safety matters. Make no mistake, Mr. Speaker, Albertans have been heard and will continue to be heard. The public's participation will remain an important part in the development and siting of all transmission infrastructure projects in Alberta. When it comes down to it, Bill 50 is about ensuring Alberta's future remains bright, and I mean that both figuratively and literally. Mr. Speaker, Bill 50 means keeping the lights on in Alberta homes and businesses well into the future. It means facilitating continued growth in the province by making sure we have the necessary transmission infrastructure in place so that more power is added to the grid as needed. And it will be needed. Not in 10 years, not in 5 years, but this year. And we need to take action now. Bill 50 prepares us for the future today. It addresses the issues of inadequate and inefficient transmission systems immediately, making sure we have a reliable and competitively priced supply of electricity. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to participate in this debate.
I have a very short speakers list so far. The Honourable Member for Calgary-Currie, followed by the Honourable Member for Calgary-Lenora, followed by the Honourable Member for Edmund-Decourt, then the Leader of the Official Opposition, the Honourable Member for Calgary-Currie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Calgary-Lenora, Glenmore after the Honourable Member for Calgary-Currie.
After 2928, could I ask questions to the...
This being the second person, there's no question available on the second. It starts on the third. You can ask one of the Honourable Members for Calgary-Currie. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, now that we have that sorted out, I can't help but notice that the sky has not yet fallen, that since Bill 50 was introduced in this House, the lights have not gone out. Well, they did go out briefly last week, apparently, in my apartment here in Edmonton and in the building where I have an apartment, but that was strictly a building problem. The lights have not gone out, and yet government members opposite and the ISO, which we've heard described by the member from West Yellowhead as having no vested interest in this at all, and technically he's right, Mr. Speaker, and various others continue to present this issue of Bill 50 and the need to pass this legislation as though we are hours away from rolling brownouts. And, Mr. Speaker, they've been presenting it that way long enough, and the rolling brownouts have yet to occur, that I'm just a little bit skeptical myself. Bill 50 is a bad bill in principle, which seeks to do something that you'll get no argument from me, we actually do need to do in the province of Alberta, and that is to upgrade an electricity transmission grid that has not had substantial upgrades to it in quite a number of years. We do need to upgrade it. It's getting old. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to break down anytime soon, but it's getting old. And the province certainly has grown. The population of this province has grown. The industrial and commercial base of this province has grown. And the consumption of power has gone up. Maybe not so much this year, and I hear tell that the ISO is about to sort of go back and revisit its projections in light of the economic downturn, but certainly we had a number of years there, quite a run on electricity. But interestingly enough, the vast majority of that increased electrical consumption was done by industrial users who built their own generating capacity and co-generating capacity. And a relatively small percentage of that was an increase in demand by the general population. Now, I think, Mr. Speaker, it's probably a good time to point out that the general population of the province of Alberta really isn't responsible for all that much of the power that is consumed, the electricity that's consumed in the run of a day, week, month, or year in this province. In fact, residential use, according to the Department of Energy's own data, residential use of electricity amounts to 17%, or did in 2008. The numbers will not be dramatically different this year. Farm use was 3%, and the rest was industrial and commercial, 54% industrial, 26% commercial.